All right, let's go to the Vaqueros hotline. We're at number 1 in the countdown. We just played the fight song. The Georgia Bulldogs are the 2-time defending champs and number 1 again. Let's get some intel from a man who covers this team like nobody's business at Dog Post. I love the name. It's Ryan Kerley with us on the Vaqueros hotline. I love Dog Post as a name. What's up, Ryan?
Hey, guys. How you doing? Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for coming on. We appreciate
Thanks for doing it. Hey, I'll start with that. That's a kind of a big macro question. I mean, we can talk about why will Georgia win a 3rd national championship. What would you say, what if they don't, why will be the reason in your mind?
Well, I think it could just be, getting to the end of the year and you kind of get to a tough schedule towards the end there with Tennessee and Ole Miss. And, with all the turnover, there's some injuries with this team. You got some thin rooms, according to Kirby, the running back room, the wide receiver room. So Georgia's dealing with some injuries right now. But when you look at this schedule, it looks like they're going to be 12-0. It's really hard to find those reasons.
Right. That's kind of my thought. I mean, because when you look at the schedule and then, Rod, you and I went through the biggest games of the year, the big, Penn State, Michigan, Penn State, Ohio State, LSU, Alabama. Georgia's not playing any of them. Outside of Tennessee, they're not. The schedule makers were very favorable to them, Rod Babers.
And let me ask you this about, Georgia and the quarterback that is going to start for them now. Moving on, obviously, from their national championship, back-to-back national championship campaigns, and having, stability at the quarterback position was really big for Georgia. What are your thoughts about the new starter for the Dogs?
Yeah, look, I don't think there's any secret. Georgia's going to miss Stetson Bennett. I mean, he was beyond football, right? We're talking about a major college football celebrity. But Carson Beck is a guy who, this is his 4th year in the program. He's been around during all of this success. At one point, he almost started for Georgia. When you go back to 2021, Stetson Bennett, when he got his first real chance in 2021, and he throws 5 touchdowns against UAB, everyone thought it was going to be Carson Beck in that game to fill in for JT Daniels. So this is a guy that's been close to starting for years. He's experienced. He's poised. He understands the program. And, look, Georgia's got a little bit of a blueprint. I don't think the transition from Stetson Bennett to Carson Beck is going to be that seamless.
Yeah, and that's it.
It's going to be that rough. I think it'll be seamless.
I love it. Hey, is it fair to say that, the reason they're so heavily favored, and you mentioned the schedule, but, last year's team was actually it's kind of the young team, right? Because 2 years ago, they were so dominant on defense, and so many of those guys, I think it was 15, got drafted into the NFL. So last year might have been the year to get Georgia. Are they back to where, that pipeline of 4- and 5-star players are now more experienced, and it'll be back maybe to shades of what we saw 2 years ago?
Well, I think that Kirby Smart has started to really build the machine over there where they pump it. It's next man up. They are going after and building and developing capable football players that they feel like they can step on the field. You talk to their players, they all think that they're 2 or 3 deep can beat a lot of teams. So it starts on the recruiting trail and them getting the right players and all of those talented players to get to Athens. And they're just more talented than most, if not all, of these teams, and especially on that 12-game schedule.
That's interesting, Ryan. I want to piggyback on what you just talked about. I was doing some research about really just the most fertile recruiting grounds in the country and looking at the different metroplexes around the country. And I found that Atlanta metroplex has produced more NFL players since 2020 than any other metroplex in the country. LA, DFW, Miami. Is that a team for Georgia? Is it mostly homegrown talent there from that Atlanta area we're talking about?
So Kirby and the staff, they go after as many of those Metro Atlanta kids that they can, but they've started to go national. Look at the last few years. They went to Washington and get Keely Ringo, and you go out to Vegas in those places. In California, you got Kendall Milton, who's going to be one of the starting running backs for Georgia this year. So they leave no stone unturned. That's what Kirby Smart said the other day, is that they leave no stone unturned in recruiting. But the Atlanta metro area is full of talent right now. Alabama's picked out a couple of those players. Some of them go across the country, but there's so many players Georgia can get who they want and need from Atlanta. But they've gone national as far as recruiting goes as well. It's not just in the state, but the state is in a really good place as far as talent goes.
Yeah, shore up as much of that as you can and then go national with all the success. Brock Bowers is a California kid, correct? Tell me how good this tight end is. I mean, there's people talking about him as a Heisman Trophy winner. What makes Brock Bowers so special?
It's almost everything. It's the work ethic. It's the athletic ability. It's the speed. It's the hands. I mean, he checks almost every box. And, I mean, he's one of the premier weapons in college football. I think if you were going to make a list, it has to start with Brock Bowers and Marvin Harrison Jr. He's the best tight end in college football. I don't think it's crazy to say he's going to win the Mackey again.
Yeah, back-to-back at that award for tight ends, Ron.
So much talent there with Georgia. They've been stockpiling talent as well as anybody in the country, better than anybody in the country for the last 5 years or so. Who is the freakish athlete or the standout breakout performer that is going to happen next year that nobody's talking about?
Oh, you could name a couple different guys for those. If we're talking about freak athletes, a player that you guys need to know about is the right tackle, Amarius Mims. We're talking about a guy who's, 6'7", 6'8", in the 330-pound range, can run almost 20 miles per hour at the right tackle position.
Hold up. What?
That's an athlete that you should – and also, he fits in that breakout category as well because, the only starts he's had in his career were during the college football playoff last year.
Holy.
That's
6'7", 6'8". You say
inertia.
He was running close to 20 miles per hour?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. No,
unreal.
He is. He's an argument for freakiest athlete.
What about on the defensive side?
Man.
Amarius Mims, right tackle, Georgia, one to watch. I don't know if he's ever going to get up to full speed, maybe chasing a screen pass or something down the field, or an interception going the other way. What about on defense? I mean, gosh, they just churned defensive prospects into the NFL. But some of those top names are gone. But just a slew of young talent. Who are the guys that we're going to see sparkling for that Will Muschamp defense?
Yeah, well, I feel pretty firmly in saying this that Georgia probably has the best linebacker duo in college football between Jamon Dumas-Johnson and Smile Mondon. But I think you can move back into the secondary, and you can make the argument that they also have the best safety duo between Javon Bullard and Malachi Starks. Javon Bullard broke out towards the end of the year last year with 3 turnovers forced in the college football playoff, some key sacks. So they've got guys all over the place. A player that can really break out on the defensive line is Michael Williams. He'll be a sophomore edge rusher. That's the thing with Georgia is I think that defense is going to be fast and deep again. It could be a number of guys, but that linebacker room and that safety room is legit.
Yeah, great names, too. I love that. Malachi Starks, Javon Bullard on the back end, and, yeah, those 2 linebackers unmatched. Hey, I want to ask a local question here because A.D. Mitchell has had a great spring and into fall camp now, and Xavier Worthy's the main target here in Austin for Quinn Ewers, but A.D. Mitchell is pushing him for that label. What are the Longhorn fans going to see in a kid like A.D. Mitchell who's come back to where he grew up?
I mean, you're seeing a guy that makes the catch whenever the catch is needed, right?
Yeah.
A touchdown in all 4 of the college football playoff games he's played in. The game winner in the game against Alabama National Championship, the game-winning touchdown against Ohio State. He's a very talented receiver. He's got short hands. Didn't really play a lot of football in Athens due to injuries and everything. But, going back home, I mean, he's going to be a huge weapon for Quinn Ewers. He can go up and get the ball.
Yeah, we've seen that. High point the ball. That's something Texas was looking for, Rod, was somebody who can win those contested catches. That's not Xavier Worthy's strength. He's the speed, quick guy, but someone who can win those 50-50 balls, that's A.D. Mitchell.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Yeah, Texas, there's been a lot of buzz about him here, and he's actually been the kind of standout performer so far in training camp, so a lot of buzz about him. Let me ask you one more question before we let you go. I want to ask you about the wide receivers. We're talking about A.D. Mitchell leaving. Was part of the reason he left is because Georgia's got plenty of targets at wide receiver for their new starting quarterback, Carson Beck?
Georgia, I mean, if you ask Kirby Smart, he thinks that they're thin at wide receiver. I think that Georgia has a diversity in different types of weapons. They've got speedsters. They've got shifty guys. They've got guys like Brock Bowers that they can throw up and get it. So I think Carson Beck will have plenty of different types of weapons to throw to, whether all of them are super experienced or not. But A.D. Mitchell would have been right there at the top for, wide receiver 1 or wide receiver 2 if he stayed in Athens.
All right. Hey, Ryan, we appreciate it. Ryan Kerley, that's good stuff right there. We'll keep the number. Obviously, Georgia will have some big games this year. He is. You can find him on Twitter at Ryan C. Kerley, Kerley. And he is with the Dawg Post, DAWG_post on Twitter as well. Hey, Ryan, thanks so much, my friend. Appreciate the preview. Georgia at number 1. Schedule is favorable, loaded with talent. Go ahead and pencil them in at least to the national championship Final Four. Thank you, Ryan.
Thanks, Ryan.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, guys. Have a good one.
Right, there you go. Ryan Kerley. Oh, man. They opened their season, by the way, with UT Martin.
I cannot believe he
Ugh.
said they had a tackle 6'7", 6'8", that got clocked at 20 miles per hour.
Nearly 20 miles an hour.
Nearly 20
But that's
miles
still
per hour.
ridiculous.
Yeah, but Arch, what did they say? He ran 25 miles an hour?
No, 20.
Yeah, that's a good point too. Yeah, if he were throwing that around a lot, I need to see these numbers. I would love to see these actual the GPS monitors they have, and they might be a little hot.
Like
You know,
it's like a radar gun in baseball.
Yeah, they could be
Sometimes
running
it's
a little hot, man.
Yeah.
Come on. But that's-
Amarius Mims, 6'7", 330 out of Cochran, Georgia.
Yeah, that dude's running over 15 miles per hour. It's impressive.
Well, we'll get to see him at the Combine. It's eventually,
Yeah,
because that
you're right.
dude is only a junior. He's a junior.
Yeah,
Sports
they've been
management.
stockpiling so much talent there. And you're right. They don't even have a lot of like named and known, recognizable superstars.
Well,
Probably
think
Brock
about
Bowers
that.
is probably that one guy.
And that's amazing. And he's a put your head down and go to work guy. Lunch
Yeah, he
pail.
is. Yep.
And that's, to me, of all the things you can credit Kirby Smart for, he has built a program that is as good as any and as good as any we've seen in a long time. And there really isn't a lot of individual star power names,
No.
right? I mean, they're just a team. They're
They
just
get-
a monster.
But you know when their time for individual achievement is? When they get drafted.
Right.
Because they all get drafted. So that's probably why he's like, no, guys, just buy in. Because you'll have your time to shine. You get your 15 minutes of fame. And it'll be just when everybody is watching in the NFL draft. So, yeah. Because the Philadelphia Eagles, if you're a defender on Georgia's team, there's a good chance the
You'll be an
Philadelphia Eagles
Eagle.
are already looking at you.
Yeah. Well, think about what he said about A.D. Mitchell. And yes, A.D. had some injuries there, but on a two-time national championship team where he caught touchdown passes in the 4 biggest games, he didn't play much. He wasn't like,
It's amazing.
And now he comes here and it's like, man, dude, this guy's unbelievable. That just kind of goes to tell you the level of talent Georgia's playing with, because they got good players, really good players all over the
And
field.
he said that A.D. Mitchell would have competed for wide receiver 1 or 2 there.
Well, Lad McConkey's the
like, why did A.D. Mitchell? He might have
Great
left.
White Hope is their best receiver.
I've heard he wanted to be close to his daughter.
Yes.
Is his daughter or son? I mean, his kid.
She's from Dallas. She's from Dallas. She lives in Dallas.
It's his daughter, right? Yeah, so I think
And
obviously that's a big part of it.
Well,
but,
and he wants
man,
to go to the NFL, and the wide receiver coach that he works out with, the personal coach, is in Dallas, where his daughter was.
Okay.
And so, because remember, he went to high school up in Tennessee, but he grew up down in the Sugar Land area. Missouri City, I believe.
Okay.
And so, getting back closer to home and to play in an offense that's going to feature him, right? And that offense features the run game, Brock Bowers, and the defense, right?
Right.
This group Sark will throw on the ball.
Oh, Sark will
You
definitely
know,
do
Sark
well.
likes the aesthetically pleasing offense.
He wants to make sure it's sexy.
A.D. Mitchell can make it more aesthetically pleasing. The one-handed catch in the spring game still stands out as a snatch.
You gotta. They need threats that are gonna make life easier on Xavier Worthy, guys like J.T. Sanders, and that's what A.D. Mitchell's gonna do, because you got to make a tough choice against Texas these days. Whether you're gonna double X-Man, double J.T. Sanders, or you're gonna stack the box to stop the run. I think most people are gonna let Texas run the football and double team X-Man and double team J.T. Sanders. That means A.D. Mitchell, Jay Witt, all those guys get one-on-one coverage.
Absolutely.
That's scary.